Uh-oh. I'm going to pause that for a second. We'll try that again. That's funny when I don't have what I need, isn't it? We always love that. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Two business tycoons in Ottawa County get very different treatment from the Holland Sentinel. The only difference seems to be political party. The charges are even less serious for the Republican, but the paper can't seem to find any information about Grand Haven's mayoral candidate and her pot business. Residents stand in support for the Momentum Center and don't quite understand what it is they support. Unfortunately, there are some rationales being suggested that say the Momentum Center may be harming the mentally unstable and our community as a whole. Finally, citizens express their frustrations about commissioners in Ottawa County and their lack of transparency. The contract with Ottawa County states that the OI commissioners wanted to make county information public by default to increase transparency and accountability. There have been a few things that have not been made public, and residents deserve that transparency from their commissioners, especially when that was a campaign promise. I'm Thomas Frye, and this is the HOMES Politicast. All right. So, first order of business. Joe Moss has been getting the second degree from, well, just about everybody in the media, but particularly our local media, which is what I concern myself with, the Holland Sentinel and Sarah Leach, investigative journalist extraordinaire, came out with this article that Joe Moss nominated Christina Caramo to become Michigan GOP chair, and then a business linked to Joe Moss was paid almost $90,000 for undisclosed services. The Detroit News reported that just last week. We talked about that a little bit. But I mean, I think the real question here, number one, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is the GOP they can hire who they want. Maybe we didn't talk about that, but anyway, Joe Moss is getting the third degree from Sarah Leach. And I asked Sarah Leach, in the only way I can, of course, on Twitter, I asked Sarah Leach if she was pursuing anything about Andrea Hendrick. Now, Joe Moss offers tech services for the Michigan GOP. So that decision by the GOP seems to benefit him quite a bit, but he is also paying for a legitimate service. Now, what we also have is Grand Haven mayoral candidate Andrea Hendrick. Her entire career, apparently, has been based on the cannabis and mushroom industries. So some investigative journalism done by Restore Ottawa, says that Andrea Hendrick's company, Eyesight Consulting Group, helps cannabis businesses find locations to open dispensaries and navigate the permitting process at the local level. Andrea currently serves on the Grand Haven Board of Light and Power. Her partner, Landon Bartley, was also employed by the city of Grand Rapids. So, Andrea Hendrick also owns Queen Leaf LLC, and they are a marijuana provisioning center looking to open in the city of Grand Haven. Now, excuse me, I might sneeze. Okay. So it seems that Andrea Hendrick has quite the incentive to be making decisions that benefit the pot industry. Is that something citizens want? Maybe. Is that something citizens know about? I don't think so. Because citizens read the Holland Sentinel. They read the Grand Haven Tribune. And so far, I haven't seen anything in the Holland Sentinel or the Grand Haven Tribune about this story. Andrea Hendrick has helped one business get pre-approval. Ramon Hanna, owner of Candid Labs LLC, was she provided the seems that she provided the industry expertise. Andrea Hendrick supplied 33% ownership by a local resident in Grand Haven to be eligible for this pot permit. So Andrea Hendrick is just sticking her fingers basically anywhere in the pot industry that she can take hold at. She's partnering with people. She's supplying ownership by a local resident. And now she's running for mayor of Grand Haven. Is this an attempt to get more pot into Grand Haven? Is this an attempt to line her own pockets? Well, we don't know, because investigative journalists are few and far between. So, there are a few maybe conflicts of interest that are a bit interesting. Hendrick was responsible for scheduling town hall meetings, attending the town hall's meetings to answer questions from residents, and collecting support affidavits, and presenting at the planning commission meetings. It seems that the city received letters from concerned citizens stating that town hall meetings were not informative because the representative could not answer basic questions about the company and that the owner wasn't president. This is for Green Skies Healing Tree LLC, another industry that, or another pot company that Andrea Hendrick was involved in. She advocated on behalf of them. There's been, so looks like she's involved with Skies Healing Trees LLC, Five Lake Farms. The other two that I mentioned before, Candid Labs LLC, and then her own, Queen Leaf LLC. Let's see. She's also, looks like she's involved in trying to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms. So, let's check this out. I haven't actually looked at this part yet. Oh, yeah. Okay, so decriminalizing entheogens in Michigan and beyond. So it looks like Andrea Hendrick is also involved in this. Let's see. Is there a place that has her name on it? Huh. Let's go back to the article, see what it says. Oh, Hendrick is on the board. Wow. So she's on the board and pictured in this MLive article. You can see her right there. Andrea Hendrick in all her glory. Decriminalizing nature Grand Rapids. So she is working really hard in both the pot and the marijuana industries. Is this good for Grand Haven or Michigan as a whole? Well, maybe. Maybe not. But the real question is, where's the reporting on it? Joe Moss is getting a lot of coverage for providing tech services. Andrea Moss is getting no coverage for providing pot and psychedelic mushroom services. Seems to be a little bit of a disparity there. That's why I don't trust the Holland Sentinel to give me information. That's why I don't trust the Grand Haven Tribune to give me information, because they don't. They pick and choose who they want to elevate, what stories they want you, the citizen, to hear, and what stories they want you to not hear. They are not here to inform you. They are here to play political games. So, if Sarah Leach would like to disabuse me of that rather bold claim, I would challenge her to write a story about Andrea Hendrick and the pot industry, to go after her like she does Joe Moss. Maybe she doesn't, because Andrea Hendrick is ideologically similar. So it's real interesting. The pot industry, the mushroom industry, totally okay. We're not going to report on that at all. If somebody, God forbid, does any work for the GOP, well, they are in some deep doo-doo, I will tell you what. So there's another article, actually. Simply American did a press release here about these attacks on Moss and some of the other stuff going on. So for Liberty, Joe Moss, writing for Liberty, I think, he writes that it is widely known that our company specializes in providing services to conservative organizations such as the Michigan Republican Party and others. Our team members have professional and business backgrounds. One of our partners is Joe Moss, who recently became an elected official for the first time in January 2023. It says, Let's see. This year, the media has attacked Ottawa County's conservative voters, traditional American values. Yeah. So, okay. So they go through actually some of the false assertions. Assertion number 1: there is no valid reason to pay for liberty. I think that's pretty. Yeah, I can see why they're coming back with, like, why are you assuming the worst of our company? The assertion number 2: if there were valid reasons, they would be publicly disclosed. And then the conclusion that hiring for liberty was a political payoff. I'm particularly actually interested in assertion number 2. So, assertion number 2. So the ACLU says the nothing to hide argument also has things backwards when it suggests that we are all worthy of suspicion until proven otherwise. Now, the ACLU is no conservative friend as far as I'm aware, but they have it right here. You cannot just assume that there is something to be worthy of suspicion of. I mean, by all means, if Sarah Leach can find something that says that this was a political payoff, bring it, please. I am all for shedding light on things that are going wrong in our system. But making baseless assertions and saying that if there's nothing to hide, you would be telling us what you're doing is not the same as showing us proof that something unsavory is going on. Let's see. I think that's kind of the biggest issue there. The conclusion, or the implied conclusion that something's going on between Michigan GOP and Joe Moss, I think needs to be substantiated. We've seen people arrested for simply going about their business, working while conservative, you might put it. Marlena Hackney, Carl Mankey, others. I think taking down businesses that are providing services for a right-wing political group, not the best look. Not the best look at all. And kind of furthers my assertion that maybe, just maybe, the Holland Sentinel and the Grand Haven Tribune have an agenda to push. I don't. Share me. Share me with your friends. Share me with your neighbors. Share me with your Facebook friends. I don't have a political agenda. I'm looking at both sides. I can be swayed. I think about the arguments as they come. And that is what I am doing my best to provide for you here on the HOMES Politicast. So, Sentinel, able to find a lot of assumptions for Joe Moss. Not able to find anything on Andrea Hendrick. Very sad. So, we come to the Momentum Center. Recently, a citizen was defending the Momentum Center, saying that we really need to be funding them. I think I'm just gonna, I think I'm just gonna let him speak here for a minute. Here we go.
My name is John North, and I live in Spring Lake Township. I'm here to talk about the Momentum Center. I realize that that's not on your agenda today, but it is a part of what members of this board are doing. And I'm pretty disturbed about the casual way in which board members would eliminate a program of great importance to people who use them. Adults with mental illness frequently live a life of rejection and loneliness. As they're growing up, school friends see there's something a little odd about them, and so they stay away, and pretty soon that person is out there someplace. When they graduate and they start employment, employers see the odd behavior too, and they put those people away from the public eye. Find a job.
They're out there someplace. Put those people away from the public eye.
Where they don't have to interact with anybody. Family members are the biggest resource for people with disabilities. But even family members sometimes lose their way and can't figure out how to continue to help support someone so disturbed. In the end, people with mental illness become isolated and lonely.
All right, so the assumption here by Mr. North is that the Momentum Center somehow does something to keep people from feeling isolated and lonely, to help them become a part of their society, which actually is something that is good for mentally ill people. You want them to be a part of society. It does both society and both the community and the mentally ill person good to be out in public, to be interacting with other people. I cannot cite the specific studies right now that show this, but most schools will bring the cognitive impaired students into the normal classroom to get time with the general community. Now, another great bit of work by Restore Ottawa. Barbara Lee, of course, says that she creates an inclusive environment within the community for people with mental illnesses and disabilities. So this article by Restore Ottawa, the Momentum Center segregates people with mental illness and disabilities from the community. Now, Barbara Lee isn't shy about saying this. She says it right out. She says, located within the Momentum Center in Grand Haven is the Momentum Cafe, and in Holland is the Momentum Ice Cream Parlor. Those allow for public integration through food. So those places are open to the general public and to our members. So instead of unintentionally creating more isolation for people, we are providing a place for social integration where we can break down the stereotypes and dismantle the stigmas. So they've created their own little place where mentally ill people can come and the community can come. I'm not sure who does. Maybe some people do. But is it the whole community? No. Is it even a representative part of the community? I doubt it. It may be representative of one small portion of the community. And that is the other people that the Momentum Center attracts, mainly the LGBTQ community. So, the guidelines sections in the MDHHS Behavioral Health and Development Disabilities Administration Inclusion Practice Guidelines. That's a mouthful. So the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services gives guidelines for disabilities. They say, this includes giving first consideration to using a community's established conventional resources before attempting to develop new ones that exclusively or predominantly serve only mental health patients. So, generally, you want the mentally ill people to be out in society rather than developing new places for them to go. The Momentum Center, the allegation goes that the Momentum Center has created a center for people with mental illness, a space where they can congregate and be hidden away from the community. Living inclusivity within the community means that people with, I think it's supposed to say living inclusively within the community, means that people with mental illness and disability are enabled to participate in activities that take place within the community. Rather than creating substitute activities at a center, the goal is to provide support so that all people can participate in community activities, no matter where the event occurs. So Barbara Lee actually recognizes this also. She says on June 26, 2023, during the Ottawa County Community Mental Health Board meeting, that studies on least restrictive environment of care have been conducted in school settings, and they provide evidence of this kind of strategy beyond what we experienced ourselves. When I was a kid in school, people who required special education per se were segregated away from the general population of students. When forward-thinking educators began testing integration of students with special needs, those students themselves not only, but the general population did better as well. So some grammar things there, not exactly accurate, or not exactly well spoken, but certainly true, which is why most schools will take the cognitive impaired students and put them into a general classroom for at least a little while during the day. The question is, why have our tax dollars been allocated to pay for an institutional center where the community can participate with the mentally ill? I think it's supposed to say where the community can't participate with the mentally ill. So, the question, should our tax dollars go towards something that helps the mentally ill integrate into the community, or should we continue paying for this momentum center that segregates our mentally ill people out of our community? That's a question for our elected officials. I think that's something that our commissioners are working on. I don't think that they want to continue funding the Momentum Center. I'm quite sure that they don't, because we've seen a lot of problematic stuff from the Momentum Center, a lot of left-wing ideology. They push a lot of LGBTQ stuff. They push a lot of the indigenous people stuff. They are a package for left-wing ideology, and pushing it on mentally disabled people, also pushing it into our community. So that's kind of where the Momentum Center argument is. One last thing for today is another community member came up and said that the Ottawa Impact Commissioners have a duty, which actually this is going to kind of integrate into the earlier part of our show, in the first part where we talked about Joe Moss's business dealings. This is interesting. Have a listen to Miss, what's her name? I forget. Megan Ryan, I think. Yeah, Megan Ryan, as she asks the commissioners about some of their policies.
Hello, I'm Megan Ryan from Holland Township. I'm here today to ask, for the third time, for this board to fulfill a campaign promise. 7 of you pledged that you would support making county information public by default. You agreed with the following statement, quote, "Private information should be the exception for public servants," end quote. 7 of you agreed to that and promised to support making county information public by default. Yet Commissioner Cosby has sent emails about county business that she thought would be confidential. Despite this pledge, 5 of you have been regularly meeting in secret, perhaps staying just inside the Open Meetings Act, but definitely not upholding your campaign promise. FOIA requests have also seen delays and high fees. The previous administration struggled with this too, but you promised to do better. You promised to make county information public by default, which would simplify the process for every resident. Yet you have failed to move on this promise with the speed you used for other promises. You owe it to the people of Ottawa County, who you signed that contract with, to either propose this resolution or explain why you will not be upholding your contract. Also, I'm appalled that this board has let the chair basically defy the Court of Appeal.
Okay, so then she goes on to complain about the health director. I think she makes a good point that we've seen resolutions for just about everything except transparency and accountability. And we've talked about some of those things on the show. We've talked about the meetings that are going on before the actual commissioner board meetings. We've talked about emails between the administrator and commissioners. We've talked about the breakdown in communication. We've talked about all that stuff. So, where is the resolution to make county information public by default? Now, if you go to the Ottawa Impact website, you can see that they do say, I will support a county resolution that instructs the county administrator and corporate legal counsel to take steps to make county information, quote, public by default, to increase transparency and accountability. Private information should be the exception for public servants. So again, there have been a lot of FOIA requests that have taken a very long time to fulfill. They're very expensive. Why is this the case? And that is one of the things that if I ever get the chance to talk to Joe about it, which I should next week, I'm gonna ask him about why exactly there has not been this county resolution. Why exactly these steps haven't been taken already. I mean, it would help with so much. And I realize that Joe Moss and his business have a right to their privacy. I do. But if he wants to make county information public by default, and if he wants to be a public servant, then he wrote the contract, private information should be the exception for public servants. I don't see a huge problem with just saying, here's exactly what we did for the GOP. And this is exactly what they paid us for. Does he have to? No, he doesn't. But he did sign a contract saying that he would, as far as I can tell. Is that a reason for the media to lambaste him? No. Should the media, if they're going to lambaste politicians, should they maybe go after some other politicians, like maybe Democrats that do business in their cities for their own profit? Maybe. I certainly think so. If they're going to go after one, they should go after both. So, that is all that I have for you this week. I'm going to be looking into the claim that Gretchen Cosby wrote emails that she thought would be private. I'm not exactly sure what Megan Ryan meant by that. So I'm going to be looking into that because I've said on this show that other people that don't cite claims made on their show are not engaging in good journalism. So, of course, I want to cite all the claims made on my show or dismiss them as unsubstantiated. So far that one's unsubstantiated. If I can substantiate it more, then I will. But there have been other things that have been substantiated that just don't look like super transparency. So with that, I hope that you are all finding this to be helpful, finding this to be balanced. I hope you will share this with a friend, share it with your Facebook friends, share it in your Facebook groups. Do the easy work to help me as I try to inform our citizens on both sides of all of the issues so that we can have not right-wing news, not left-wing news, but just news. With that, I'm Thomas Frye. I hope you guys have a great week. I will be doing the show probably on Monday next week because I want to be at the what do you call it? I want to be at Fillmore Complex next week, Tuesday. So, hope to see you there. This is the HOMES Politicast.